See high dosage, FDA approved laser therapy.
Better, Brian. Oh, I just saw a bug crawling around.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, there he is. We're live. Good morning, everyone. Ron's already up. Good morning, Ron.
Ron is up. Ron is on it.
Ron is on it. Good morning, Ron.
That'd be fun one day if we had one of our people come in who are always on Facebook with us, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yes, it would be a great idea. Good morning, Patrick. He needs relentless positivity today. No problem. Christopher, good morning. Don, good morning.
I have one good thing.
Oh, I need relentless positivity today.
Oh, dear. Are you feeling a little tired?
Oh, I didn't start watching the... I watched the Fox, just the 10... No, I don't know what time. Anyway, I didn't get much sleep. I watched it very late. I had taped it, thank goodness.
I watched it all the way through and it was late.
Oops.
Just live, it was late.
Yeah.
What time does it end? Is it 11 or 11:30?
After 11.
Annie, how do you do it?
I don't know. I don't know what got into me. I was.
But you've been doing this all last week too.
Well, you know, I'm a news hound. I love news.
So you can't go to sleep if it's on.
Easy. Visit us at
I really love it.
Just give us a simple phone.
So interesting to me.
Your Ford dealer.
I'm Dick
tired.
our news. And now, Paul W. Smith.
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
Good Wednesday morning to you, or as some might say, Dana.
It's hump day.
Well, it sure is. Wednesday, August 26th, hump day. The 239th day of 2020 with 127 days left in the year. Make each and every day count. Each day is a gift. And especially after late nights and conventions and everything else, we're all happy to be here, up and Adam. I think we're all happy to be here, up and Adam, at 5:40 on this Wednesday, middle of the week morning. Dick Hafner is here handling news duties, our WJR news director, looking fit and as a fiddle. His Detroit Lions hat is on and ready to go, and he's in good light because the first 45 minutes were on camera, on social media, as well as on WJR 760 on the AM dial. Dana is here, Dana Clark, taking care of our traffic and weather and her thoughts on the passing scene and whatever might be going on. And it's Wine Wednesday, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Morton, who's already gone through half a bottle of wine by now. He is at the Golden Tower of the Fisher Building having a party for one and enjoying himself. Kim is still half and half right now. She had a tough night. Headache. You know, she hasn't had one of those really bad headaches in a long time, but she started getting one last night and tried to get in front of it, but had a little success, not as much as she would have liked. Of course, Ann Thomas, our executive producer, is bulletproof. I don't know that she may never have had a headache.
She's not a person.
Good morning,
not a human being.
Not human.
She's not a human being, that's for sure. From what I watched, and I watched it all secondhand, and I didn't watch like I have in the past, starting earlier. I probably didn't see the coverage until close to 10. It just seemed to go on forever last night, but it's because I watched it so late. But I have to tell you this. I am genuinely surprised, frankly, how much better the Republicans seem to be doing with their show than the Democrats did with their show. I truly expected the Democrats, with all the showbiz people behind it, producers, directors, writers that they have on their side, I expected it to be otherwise. I didn't expect the Republicans to have such a good, positive show. What did you guys think?
I expected they would have a good show. Donald Trump is a producer, and last night was a very good show. And his wife, Melania, was nothing short of spectacular for the Republicans. She did an excellent job.
She really did an excellent job. And it's a long story, but the fact that they would put her down because she's a beautiful woman is something that the Democrats would generally find to be reprehensible and unacceptable. Because just because she's a beautiful woman doesn't mean she should be put down. That is their battle cry, and a good one, because that's true. And yet they still discount her and don't think she counts for much. But guess what? She counted for a lot last night.
She counts for everything.
She counted for a lot last night because she's giving us, if you can say it this way, the human side of the president that most of us don't see very often. Even those of us who have known him for years and years and years don't see it, but she expressed it. And it's totally against the whole idea that, especially the late night comics for the Democrat Party, have always made it sound as if she's trapped in this horrific marriage and please get me out of here, and all the things that they've assigned to that relationship all went up in a puff of smoke last night. Pretty incredible. It is 5:44 at WJR.
This report is sponsored by the TJ Martell Foundation. The TJ Martell Foundation is there for cancer patients. Help make a difference in the fight against cancer. Join the music industry to help fund the doctors who will help your family and friends fight cancer. Donate today at tjmartell.org.
And let's check it, our WJR traffic and weather first, and Dana Clark.
Traffic first, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com. 696 westbound between Woodward and Coolidge. The right lane is closed at schedule through September 11th. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Gordon Chevrolet. Gordon Chevrolet, where you not only pick your payment, but now pick your program. Need to pull ahead your lease? Do you need GM employee pricing or a low payment with zero interest? Let Gordon Chevrolet help you find it. On Ford Road, just west of Merriman in Garden City, GordonChevrolet.com. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads.
Storms may have some gusty winds with them today. Scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Otherwise, the timing on that most likely into the second half of the day, 86. Tonight, clear, 73. Tomorrow, some clouds around with highs in the low 90s. From a Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stagik on News Talk 760 WJR.
And Rush Limbaugh joins us noon to 3, Monday through Friday here on WJR. And he stops by right now at 5:45. Rush?
It was only last week the EPA declared the residents of San Francisco need environmental protection. The EPA issued a notice accusing the liberals who run the city of violating the Clean Water Act. Now, according to the EPA, there are substantial volumes of raw and partially treated sewage flowing through and across the beaches and into San Francisco Bay. There are also high concentrations of zinc and lead on the beaches. The sewage system in San Francisco is so overwhelmed with crud, it's even been flowing down the streets and into people's houses. So in San Francisco today, people have to navigate piles of human feces and use needles on the streets. Homeless vagrants set up camp wherever they want. The elected Democrats who run the place give sanctuary to illegal immigrants who can then escape punishment by San Francisco juries if they murder an American walking along a pier. Now we got raw sewage and other contaminants flowing through the streets into people's homes, on the beaches, and into the bay. Meanwhile, the liberals who run San Francisco pass resolutions calling the NRA domestic terrorists. They pass laws banning plastic straws. Now, if you decide to leave your heart in San Francisco, make sure it's in a hazmat suit, folks, especially if you leave it on the beach. Ugh, yuck. Oh.
Rush Limbaugh, noon to 3 today, right here on WJR. You know, the timing on all of this, I think the average American, if they watched, and by the way, I couldn't believe it. The viewership for the Republican convention, according to one of our sources, which is a very liberal-leaning left-wing source, the Topic Pulse by Future Media, said that viewership for night one of the Republican convention clobbered the Democrats.
Wow,
in terms of viewership. Well, this is
That's
despite
weird.
polls that give Democrat Joe Biden an edge in the upcoming election. The first night of the Republican National Convention easily trounced its counterpart. Now, this is at least in live stream views. So maybe you saw what the general networks put out, the media that backs Joe Biden. But this, I'm telling you, this thing is so left-leaning. I complain about it all the time, and yet they're giving it through live streaming, which I don't know who keeps track of.
Nielsen said the over-the-air networks gave the Democrats a little bit of an edge.
Right.
But that was over-the-air. Live streaming probably had more viewers than the over-the-air networks.
C-SPAN's live stream on Monday's RNC
C-SPAN numbers,
garnered almost 440,000 views. By comparison, the first night of the Democrat National Convention was viewed just 76,000 times. Although Nielsen at this point had not yet released TV ratings for the event, at least one network has drawn criticism for its coverage. Fox News cut away from the convention several times. See, this is these people don't like Fox News.
They all do.
Yeah. And so, but my point is, just from what I saw, there's no question the Republicans have done a better job. Now, whether it's because they'd have to dance pretty quickly to get it together, whether it's because they watched what the Democrats did and they decided not to do what they did, I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, the Republicans have a surprisingly good show that they had on, and people can complain, and they do complain. They came up with, well, no one has ever done anything political from the White House. Apparently, they weren't familiar with FDR or history, because FDR did a political campaign report during his convention from the White House. And what's wrong with that, especially during a pandemic time and everyone's trying to stay safe? There'll be a complaint about everything. Well, they weren't wearing masks in the Rose Garden. No, but they'd all been tested for COVID. Now, you don't get into the White House area without being tested.
Actually,
for COVID.
I saw a few people wearing masks in the Rose Garden event.
I did not. I mean, I wasn't looking. I first glanced and said, gee, I don't see any masks. But masks or not, they're all checked already. And the seats were farther apart than they would normally be at a White House function. Having been to a number of White House functions, you usually put in there like sardines, and these had spaces between them. Be that as it may. The timing, though, is Americans have got to be getting fed up what's happening in this country. Even if the Democrats running the various cities that have gone to hell.
You're hearing the Paul W. Smith Show. News Talk 760 WJR.
What happened last night in Kenosha, Wisconsin? What's been happening every night in Portland? What is the national carnage on a daily and weekend basis in Chicago? And now Philadelphia, the second highest murder rate in the country. What is happening in these Democrat-run cities is not something that's been manipulated by the Republicans to show how bad things are. It's all been manipulated by the Democrats in charge of those cities and states. And Americans are going to wake up and say, wait a second, okay, how does police making a mistake or doing something incorrectly? We don't know the whole story on this latest, but what we watched was pretty horrible there when they could have tackled this guy and kept him from going into his car, and why the heck they had to wait, not tackle him, and then shoot him. By the way, they shot 7 times and only hit him 4 times when they're standing right on top of him. There's all kinds of sad and terrible stories attached to that. But when did we start to accept that meant it was okay to then riot and burn and destroy? There's nothing that makes
we
it
have not
okay.
accepted that.
Doesn't make it, there's nothing that makes it acceptable for what happened, including last night, beating almost to death a guy who was trying to protect a building owned by a charity. Now they're going after charities. There's nothing that makes any of this okay, no matter how much white guilt you have because you were born white and your white privilege and all this other guilt that's built up that has caused people not to act and react like normal human beings. It's not acceptable. And the timing, I think, is in the favor of the Republicans right now. It's astonishing to me.
Well, the convention was interesting, I will say. I'll say how I feel about it. He's going toward his base, which to me is the scare tactic. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. You're going to lose this. If that is his base, and that if people are afraid of losing something, he's playing right into them. Does it look better in some respects? Yes. The production value is better than the Democrat convention was. But as far as what they're talking about, it seemed like the Democrats were talking more about unity. Let us come together. And I'm glad Melania's speech, I didn't see it, which I will go back and look at it. But what I read was that she called for unity and talked about the pandemic. So I'm glad she was.
She didn't use it like was used with the Democrats to put down and criticize the other side. She didn't, and she asked for everyone to stop,
which was good.
This nonsense. Yes. When there are mistakes made and all of that, please, the answer isn't violence. The answer isn't responding with violence. And the same thing with the pandemic. We have to work together on all this stuff. And she puts that together a lot better than her husband does.
Yes, 100%.
That's for sure.
She could have been called a moderate Republican, given the speech that she gave. It was very calm. She was right on point. And if you take away the parts where she says, basically, vote for Trump, vote for my husband, that speech could have been seen as a moderate centrist speech. And by the way, she mentioned the coronavirus pandemic more than any other mention during the convention so far.
And by the way, I'm stunned at how many regular people the Republicans have put forward. Just regular people. I thought it has been very, very. I'm surprised, but there were more seemingly regular people rather than the celebrities and the personalities. More regular people that I found to be fascinating. People I had no idea who they were, but they were regular people, and they certainly have put an emphasis on African Americans. And whether that's, I'm sure it's because they're trying to prove that he's not a racist and that there are African Americans that do believe in him. Those were very real people with very strong beliefs. So I found it fascinating. It's especially good to know that today is Wine Wednesday.
Because boy, do we need some wine.
The wine that Dana had suggested last Wednesday, we tried it, the Coco Bon. And how much was this bottle of Coco Bon?
Like $6.30.
Unbelievably good.
Yes.
Unbelievably good. And then, so I hope everyone brought a wine today to the table. We found one, Tarima Hill, or Tarima, Tarima Hill, 91 points from the various rating services, and this was like under $12, rated 91. So
Okay.
there are some good wines out there. Did anybody else bring a wine today?
Yes,
on
I have
Wine
one.
Wednesday.
I have one.
What do you have there, Dana?
It's called Mirasol. I think that's how you say it. Oh,
Something sun. Huh?
Mirasol with the sun. Very good. This is a Pinot. This is like $10
Fabulous.
at Kroger or anywhere. It
red.
has a little sun sign. Yes, light red. Love the sun sign. And so that's my suggestion this week. Mirasol.
Annie's grabbing something. It might
know,
be the
I
bottle
have-
she always has by her side. during the podcast.
Right. Mine is another Pinot Grigio. It's Terra Alpina, and it's about $12. It has a 90 rating, and we get a lot of our wine from Cost Plus at the Eastern Market.
Okay.
An excellent
You've
wine
told me
store.
about that Cost Plus at Eastern Market.
I
have
highly
not been there.
recommend. Oh, they
Okay.
take wonderful care of you, and you can go in and you can test the different wines. But this one was only
One of the
right.
I'd never
best
leave.
Have a
cost
nice
plus stores in
afternoon.
the country.
Yes,
One of the best cost plus stores in the country.
Oh, it is?
Okay.
We got to see that then. at
right in
Eastern
the
Market.
Eastern Market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dick, did you bring any wine, or is it inside you already?
Oh no, it's an Italian wine. It's called Prelius. It's from Tuscany, they say. It's a white wine, and I'd like to tell you about the vintage and what they call the mouthfeel, right? All the wine connoisseurs, but I can't do that.
Without
I only
tasting
bought
it.
this wine. Yes, I only bought this wine because I like the label.
I do
love
that
I
too.
like the label. It's
I like
transparent.
labels. I'm a label guy.
It's got a blue circle, right? It's
Uh-huh.
got a blue circle. I have no idea whether it's any good.
Let me just-
I just
let me
like the
just-
label.
Let me just point something out and see if anyone else noticed it. He's our news guy. That's why he said, they say it's from Tuscany. Wait,
There you go.
you think it's from Petersburg, Michigan,
I
and they say it's
attribute
from
everything.
Tuscany?
I attribute everything.
I think we should send you to Tuscany to see if you can find that wine.
It could be a fake from North Korea.
Yeah, it couldn't everything. It is 5:58 at WJR.
This report is sponsored by the TJ Martell Foundation. The TJ Martell Foundation is there for cancer patients. Help make a difference in the fight against cancer. Join the music industry to help fund the doctors who will help your family and friends fight cancer. Donate today at tjmartell.org.
Let's check at our WJR traffic and weather at 5:59. Dana Clark.
Now, WJR Traffic First, sponsored by Guernsey Farms Dairy. For 80 years, Guernsey has been a Detroit tradition. They are excited to announce their newly remodeled restaurant's dining room is now open for lunch and dinner. Enjoy great food, drinks, and laughs, and visit their ice cream parlor and store for Guernsey's award-winning ice cream, milk, and lemonade. For more info, visit GuernseyFarmsDairy.com. We do have an accident along the Jeffries westbound before Inkster Road. Traffic is slow from Beach Daily. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Liberty Title, protecting property since 1974. A few quick tips from Liberty Title: cybercrime and identity theft in real estate is a $2 billion industry. Make sure your title company is insured. There is no need for a split closing. Use only one title company. Never close your transaction in a public place. You have a choice. Choose libertytitle.com. Raindrops in the area right now, currently 70 degrees. Could see some more scattered thunderstorms. Could be severe in some spots, and cloudy skies, a high of 85. Tonight, clear skies, low 75. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Dick Hafner in about 1 minute.
Dubster, who else did you see last night in the time that you watched? Did you see Tiffany Trump?
No,
She did an excellent job too.
I would have liked to have seen her. I guess she must not have been on the coverage that began at 10. She
I
must have
think she
been
was a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
earlier.
She's
I-
just graduated from Georgetown's law school.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You know,
and
they've always
she-
made her out to be some dummy, black sheep kid, or I mean, it's ridiculous
Nope.
what the media has done.
She really did a wonderful job.
I wish I would have seen it.
Excellent.
I did see one of the Trump sons, Eric,
Eric.
I think.
Eric.
And we had Eric on, or was it Donald, or have we had them both on? I don't know. We had Donald Jr. and Eric. Was
I
it
think
Eric
we've
most
had them
recently?
both on, but recently, wasn't it Eric? Isn't he? Yeah, it was Eric. He's married to Laura or Lara. Lara Trump.
Lara,
We've
and
had
they had
her
Laura
on, too.
on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He
Um,
did a good job too.
yeah, I thought he did a very a real job talking right to his dad and saying, "I love you, Dad." I mean, it was kind of interesting. I thought the whole thing was pretty interesting. I was afraid he was
as
going to come
angry
on.
as the
I
night
was just going to
before.
say his brother was angrier, but his brother was following in the footsteps of his girlfriend, who has now become like the poster child for way overdoing it. And the late night comedians had
Oh yeah.
a lot of fun making fun of her. They did a promo for Colbert coming up saying, is the yelling woman gone? Like hiding behind his desk. So but I'm surprisingly impressed so far with what they're doing, what they're saying, and how they're presenting it. And it'll be fascinating to see if this is any kind of a turning point in the fact that we still have Joe Biden, according to the polls, which are meaningless, but according to the polls, in the lead. What really matters is voting. And one of the things that really matters is absentee voting and the other ballots that are mailed out, that people will be sending them in sooner rather than later. Now everybody's worried about the post office being able to handle them, so they'll get them in. So anything that happens almost from this day forward, I'm not sure what the date really is, but it's going to be too little, too late for either side because people will have already voted.
Possibly, that's possible. It'll be interesting to see tonight if it'll be all about Mike Pence, because there's been not really very little Mike Pence yet, but then maybe tonight's his night, because usually the third night of the convention.
Yeah, they
is
say
the VP's night.
on USA Today, they say Pence to stress wins in the virus fight. So he's going to try to put the best face forward on what has been at best a tedious and fraught with errors approach. But I hope that they will point out how many of those errors came to the president from the medical advisors that he had on staff. The Fauci and Birx have some real big mistakes in their early take on this disease. I mean, early on, Fauci said we don't really have to worry. Americans don't really have to worry about this. It's not going to be a problem. There's been a lot of incorrect information. Now, the president has not done a very good job of it because he thinks out loud on some of these things, hence the bleach thing that they then attributed to him claiming everybody should drink bleach, which is not at all what he said, but he asked what really off the top of his head without thinking, which he does a lot of. It was just a stupid sounding question. If he wanted to ask that question, he should have asked it not in front of a microphone in front of millions of people watching him at a press conference. That aside, the early information that was given to him by the medical experts, including the CDC and the worthless health organization, was wrong. It was wrong. I know they like to just blame the president, but shame on anybody who blames just the president when it was clearly a variety of medical people, starting even locally when I suggested masks. And I was told on the air, and you remember saying, well, my doctor told me, Paul, that you're wrong about that. The masks are not going to be helpful or whatever. People were just wrong about it.
Well, you have to understand, though, that at first, we don't know much about this virus. We're still getting new and different information. Now, this morning, the CDC is saying that if you don't have any symptoms, you don't need to be tested. So that's completely different than everything that we've been hearing.
Testing was a political hot potato that the Democrats keyed in on, saying, oh, they can't do enough testing. Let's talk about how bad they are at testing. The testing is meaningless. You can get, I don't want to keep saying it. I'm like a broken record. If I get tested, as I have been twice for a couple of different reasons,
right?
The fact is, on the way home, I could have gotten infected, and I would be walking around going, hey, I don't have it. I had a test. They told me I was clear. The testing was just a political part of this, just like everything else. Again, if we all acted like we had it, if we all wore masks, if we all washed our hands regularly, and we all social distanced or physically distanced, this thing could have ended. We could have wiped it out a long time ago. Should the president have said that and done that and shown by example? Yes, absolutely right. He should have. But his vanity is such that I'm sure he looked at himself in the mirror with a mask, as he looks at himself in the mirror before he wears anything, and he thought he didn't look so good. It goes back to somebody else told me the other day that they ran into the same issue with him. In fact, they said, I didn't watch the whatever his television show was. What was that?
Apprentice.
I didn't watch The Apprentice, but when I told my story about when I saw him at the Plaza Hotel and I walked up to him after his little press conference, I was working in New York, so it was like in the 80s. And I went up to the president. He wasn't the president. He was just Donald Trump. And I said, Donald, why are you we're in the Plaza Hotel. It's a beautiful hotel. The temperature's perfect. Why are you wearing that black cashmere overcoat, outside coat the entire time? And he said, I think I look good in it.
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
I didn't watch The Apprentice, but I'm told he wore that black cashmere overcoat a lot. And remember, because I've been in his offices at Trump Plaza, he was inside. He didn't need to wear an outside coat, but he wore it because he looked good in it. There's a lot of vanity here. That's fine. Whatever. I think he'll know that. He and Columbo. Columbo chose an old ratty raincoat, but there it was. On this Wednesday, August 26th, the 239th day of 2020, there are 127 days left in the year. Make each and every day count. Each day is a gift. You know, it's not just Wednesday, Dana.
It's hump day. Woo-hoo! I zoned out for a minute.
I thought, there's also a delay. And I thought, you can really tell the delay there.
Well, I Wine Wednesday, too.
That's right. It is Wine Wednesday as well.
Oh, right.
We come up with some wine ideas that don't cost an arm and a leg. And it goes back to what Eddie Jonah, God bless him, the merchant of vino, used to say. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good bottle of wine. And for those of us who grew up without wine, we didn't have wine regularly at our house in Monroe, except the Manischewitz that Sweet Marie used to
good old Manischewitz.
Little shot of it. And I always had the biggest kick of a 100% Lebanese woman drinking Manischewitz wine. And she would have a little bit of it before bed because it helped her sleep. Mm-hmm. But so we didn't have a lot of wine around. So we thought it had to be expensive because on television, it was always looked like people were drinking expensive wine. I told you before about Grandma Sadie's Beatrice Market and sneaking out a bottle with my cousins of champagne. And it was like Great Western or Cold Duck or some really low end champagne. And we all got a glass. We drank it and it was horrible. So for all those years when I'd see people on television drinking champagne, I go, oh, that stuff is terrible. Then I got to an event once where they had really good champagne. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait a minute, this isn't what I've been tasting and testing. Really good champagne does make a difference. But again, you don't have to spend a lot of money for good champagne or good wine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, so we've got the world blowing up again because of what appears to be, although we don't know the details, but it sure looked like the police were making stupid mistakes in Wisconsin, horrific mistakes. But again, that isn't a license to go out and destroy everything. Sorry, I don't know when that became okay. It's not okay. Why the institutional media isn't covering it and acting like the police are attacking peace-loving citizens who are just trying to protest and walk through the streets. Why they don't show the other destruction and harm is beyond me.
Destruction and rioting doesn't make Jacob Blake any better.
Nope, doesn't help him at all. Poor guy seems to be maybe paralyzed, and we hope and pray not. And we'd love to know the rest of the story, why all those cops that looked like the Keystone Cops in action why they didn't just stop him or tackle him. You know, the police are not shy. Even when a guy stands there and puts his hands up, if you ever noticed, I've never liked this tactic, but it's part of their playbook because they do it everywhere. Even when a guy gives up, say he came out of a chase, they were chasing him, and he was riding down the street, and he finally pulls over because he's done, and he stands there. You ever notice? The police don't just come up and say, all right, well, we're putting your arms. They come up and they throw him to the ground. Even if he's just standing there like that, they rough him up. Why didn't they just do that instead of following behind the car with him? Nobody was grabbing him and tackling him and keeping him from getting to the car. Once he got to the car and he leaned in, then they freak out because they don't know what he's leaning in for, and they shoot him. At point blank range, 7 shots are fired, and even the police who are trained with these weapons only hit him 4 times. Did you wonder about that sometimes? Maybe it's because we grew up with Westerns and things, Dick. You and I, the girls weren't watching those. But so, you know, these guys would take out these very inaccurate 6-shooters, and they'd take a gun and they'd shoot a guy way across the street.
From a moving...
From a horse that's galloping. And we said, wow, that's something. And then if you ever really shot a gun, as I have, and maybe you guys have, it is very hard to hit something, which is probably a good
would
thing.
Shoot a gun right out of somebody's hand. Wyatt never shot anybody, and he never got shot. He let everybody else do the shooting around him, but he could shoot a gun and take a gun out of a guy's hand, right, on TV.
Yep. And we believed it, and it just frankly it just wasn't true. All right, the governor said yesterday she is not going to be bullied into reopening businesses that are still closed. I missed it altogether. Did anybody see it? I did not see her.
I saw some of it.
See her mid-afternoon.
She basically
COVID-19
said what she told you the day before. She's going to take her time.
You said get flu shots. That was the basis.
That was
of her.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Okay.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I don't know how I hit that.
I can see you talking.
I never used to get flu shots. I became a believer belatedly. But so now I get flu shots and we'll get them. The other quick thing was I called Jeffrey Feiger. I didn't. Yeah, I think it can't hurt too. I tried to get a hold of Jeffrey Feiger, and you've all seen this. And I mentioned it yesterday, but now it's a headline of yesterday that the mother or some family member told the medics that Tamisha Beauchamp was breathing when they all pronounced her dead. She said, "Well, I have a pulse. She's breathing." They should have paid attention. So there's another story fraught with problems, mistakes, and frankly, finger pointing that is going to be a very big case for Jeffrey Feiger. There'll be a lot of money there even if it never sees the light of day or court, which I imagine will be the case. 6:14 at 760 WJR.
This report is sponsored by Fresh Time Farmers Market.
It's no surprise that healthy living begins with what we eat. Stop by Fresh Time Farmers Market for organic avocados, just 99 cents each, now through September 1st. You can trust Fresh Time to bring you real food at real affordable prices.
And the very real WJR traffic and weather first with the let's keep it real, people, in a car.
Unfortunately, another accident out there, Paul W. This one downriver in Lincoln Park, 75 northbound at 4th Street. Accident is blocking the left lane. And then the Jeffries westbound right before Inkster Road. Accident blocks the left lane, seeing delays from at least Beach Daily. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Our weather is on the way. Clouds, clear sky around this morning. A few showers, thunderstorms in today's forecast, especially second half of the day with some gusty winds, possible 85. Tonight, cleared out down to 73. A few clouds tomorrow with a high into the low 90s. From the Weather Channel, meteorologist Ray Stajic on News Talk 760 WJR.
Believe. Doesn't that word open up a world of infinite possibilities?